Today I'm working on a Kawasaki Mule 4010. So this utility vehicle, a lot of people call them side-by-sides. This came in for some axle noise, especially in the front axle. Also came in to get a good general tune-up. So let's get to it. Let's jack this puppy up. So with the front wheels jacked up, I'm going to move them and see if I hear any noise. Sounds like there's rocks in the tires. Front axle doesn't sound bad, but I do see that the boot is blown on this side. This side is smoother. Yeah, this side is smoother. And the boot is intact on this one, so at least we definitely want to change out the front axle on the driver's side. So as I turn this tire, you can see right here, this boot has come off. So there's probably dirt and debris. Yeah, this thing, it's a little loose, but this has to get replaced. Alright, let's see what's behind this boot cover. There we go. Okay. Gotta take this cotter out and then take this castle off. Okay. Cotter's out. So this is going to be an 1/16" socket. I'm going to want an impact for this. Okay. That's off. So look how this orientation is. You got your castle nut, you got a small spacer, oh, a lock washer, and then this big spacer. Okay. Interesting. Man, they must really not want this thing coming undone. Alright, so then gotta slide this out. There we go, that's nice. Might as well take a look at the brake pads while we're in here. These are actually good. These look good. So this has brakes in the front and the rear. That's nice. Okay. Alright, let's set this underneath off to the side. Let's set it off to the side. Alright. So now we got to take this hub assembly off. And it looks like we're going to have to unbolt it in 4 locations. Yeah, let's see if we can do that. And then hopefully I don't have to disconnect the hydraulic line, but all signs are showing I'm going to have to. So it is my best guess that first I have to disconnect this vacuum line here and then disconnect this brake line. I was trying to look at an easier way to disconnect the brake line so I didn't have to create a mess on my hands, but I think this is the only way I'm going to be able to do it. So it's okay, we'll go through a little bit of brake fluid. All right, I'm removing the nut out of this lower control arm. This was a 17mm. Okay, down she goes. There we go. Now that we separated the ball joint from the lower control arm, we will be able to move this axle much more freely. All right, so this next step is a little tricky, but what you're going to need is you're going to need a 5mm Allen, 6-inch extension, and a ratchet. So that's what I'm going to need to take out these 3 Allen bolts that are deep in there. So there are 3 Allen bolts holding the top end of this axle together, and they are loose. They're only in hand tight. Let's take this one. Okay, that one's loose. 2 of these were loose already. It's not a good sign. And this one's loose. Okay. Oh, I think they're supposed to be a little more tighter than that, but that's okay. Let's take all this out. Okay, that's one. It's 2. And this will be 3. Oh yeah. Alright. So that came out. Somewhat okay. Let's pull out this side. Okay, came out pretty easy. Now looking at this side where the front transfer case is, so this should have oil in it, and you can see there's oil in there, but it's really brown. I think this got contaminated with water, but we won't know until we fully drop the transfer case fluid. So what I got in front of me is, this is the old axle, this is the original axle that was in the Kawasaki, and this is the brand new axle that's going in. I got it hooked up to the new vise I put on in my truck. I encourage you guys to watch that video. So far it's coming in pretty handy. I really like the aluminum jaws here. So the one thing I do want to show you guys is how tight a new axle is. So if I got this axle here, you can shake it, you know, and the axles do move some, but they don't flop, you know, they stay intact. Where you take the original one, you know, this thing is flopping all over the place. So good sign to tell you how bad it is. All right, so we're done with it. So while we got this one, what we're going to do is we're going to prep this axle for reinstallation. And for prepping, what I mean by prepping is I'm going to grease the splines on these, and then I'm going to slide this puppy in. That way I don't have to do it while I'm on the floor. So right now I'm just applying grease liberally on the shaft and the spline. And now what I'm doing is I'm getting down and dirty, and I'm rubbing this all over the shaft. Now that that's all lubed up all nice, just gonna clean my hands, and then we're gonna reinstall this thing. So to make a reinstallation a little easier on myself, I'm also gonna pop off this joint as well. This is my steering joint. This impact will have enough ass to get it off. And it does. Okay. She popped. There we go. So now I can really swing this thing freely. Okay. There we go. Slide on there. So I'm taking my little bottle jack, and I am jacking up this upper control arm. That way I get good compression in the seat there. Okay, that's nice and snug. I'm going to back it off one little click so I can get the pin through the hole here. All right, let's get a new cotter pin. Okay, now I'm going to turn and get that one in. And we can bolt this one up. And the same thing, I'm going to get a cotter pin for it. And this one was a 14 millimeter. Okay, I'm going to thread these back in. And it acts as a little clamp, so I'm not going super snug, I'm just getting them on there. And then I'm going to snug these by hand. These you do not want to use an impact on when tightening, you want to do these by hand. And these don't get crazy snug, they just get snug. Alright, so I am putting our brake system back on. And remember, you gotta do the brake line first. So we're going to torque these to 65 foot-pounds. Alright, so now that these are torqued properly, I'm going to apply lube, like gear grease, all around this outer O-ring here. The reason being is you're going to want some lubricant between the hub and the O-ring here, and that's going to allow us to slide a lot nicer, and it'll prevent contaminants from getting into the brake system, like water. So I'm just applying lube liberally around this. I'll go halfway, and then I'll use my fingers for the rest of it. So before I put this hub back on, I'm going to apply a little bit of lube on the inside of the hub and right out here. So I know we pre-lubed it, but we're lubing it again. There we go. Nice seal fit there. So they want this front axle nut torqued to 65 foot-pounds. So let's set our torque wrench to 65. Okay. Turning the wheel. Okay. There we go, 85 foot-pounds. Okay. All right, so we're tightening up our brake line here, and everything's fitting properly. Now, once this starts to get tight, like it just did, you're gonna want to use your line wrench to really be able to snug up on it. All right, that's good. So I am gonna have to bleed this brake system, but yeah, let's take this cap off. We're gonna take this cap off and bleed the brake system now real quick. While we got the tire off, it'll make it easier. Don't forget to hook up also your vacuum line. Okay, so I am going to loosen the brake bleeder screw, and this is an 8 millimeter. And I am pulling a tight vacuum on this thing, so I want to make sure there's no air bubbles, nothing but liquid. And you can see it coming, and I want to get any air bubbles out of that system. Alright, now it's tight. We got a nice tight brake system. Okay. Well, we're going to put this dust cover back on, and now we just got to throw the wheels on. Alright, so now that the front axle's in, let's change the front differential fluid. Alright, so as I got down to ground level here, I am looking for the drain plug on the front differential. And I can't find the plug anywhere. So I looked online and it said right over on this side is where the drain plug is supposed to be. So I did notice there was a bunch of dirt and stuff, so I took a brush, cleaned it off, and it looks like the drain bolt has been knocked out, and that's probably why the skid plate was knocked off. The skid plate is sitting in the front seat. So I'm assuming this thing hit something and it must have took this with it. So anyway, that's okay, no need to fear. You got two options. Either A, leave it as is, don't mess with it, or you drill and tap, and you probably have to completely re-drill and re-tap this thing and hope you don't damage nothing. What I'm gonna do is I'm leaving this just as is. It isn't leaking, I ain't gonna mess with it. I am going to open up this fill line and I am going to put a tube down here and I'm gonna vacuum out the oil. All right, I'm gonna vacuum out with my hand pump. You need a 19 millimeter for this drain plug. Now I'm vacuuming out any oil that's in the front differential. So per the manufacturer, the 4010 Mule, the front differential fluid is supposed to be 10W40. And it calls for half a liter of 10W40. So what I did here is I filled up my little pitcher and I filled it up to half a liter. However, refilling the front differential fluid on this will be tricky because if you're going to do this manually, you're going to have a hard time and it's going to be sloppy. What I would recommend you guys purchasing is a hand pump just like this. This is a very basic pump. This actually threads into a quart bottle. So you're going to want to get a quart bottle of 10W40 oil, thread this in there, and then all you do is pump this, and you just pump it up, and it fills the front differential fluid, and no spill. So this is quite handy. I'm going to leave a link to this in the description of my YouTube. So if you guys are interested in buying one of these are very cheap, and I highly recommend it. You'll use it, trust me. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm taking my manual pump. I have my half a liter of oil, and what I'm doing is I am pumping this, and you can watch how this hand pump starts pulling up the oil, and it is discharging it right into the front transfer case. And this is what's nice about this. It is no spill. It's very clean. I highly recommend you guys get one of these. Take a look in the link in my description. Look at the price. It's very cheap. You're going to want to get it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. One thing I do want to encourage is try working on your own stuff. I know it sounds crazy changing the front axle on a utility vehicle, but it's really not that challenging. And in reality, I only used a few special tools to get the job done. So I encourage you guys to watch the video again. Feel free to drop a comment, ask me if I ran into any problems, if you have any questions while trying to do this. Also, feel free to just reach out for any mechanical needs you think you run into or any questions you have on any piece of equipment. I love hearing from everybody, and I hope to see you guys next time. See ya.